beginning of the end. We have abandoned God, and now he is punishing us.
We can keep running, we can keep hiding, or we can fight.
Over here, you piece of
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 science fiction action film, War of the Worlds: The Attack. The film is directed by Junaid Saeed and it stars Sam Gittins, Vincent Reagan, Lara Lemon, Alhaji Fafana and Leo Starr. Now this is a UK-based, low-budget science fiction film. It is based on the famous H.G. Wells book. And many of you know the story by now. Aliens from Mars fire their pods down to the Earth and start an attack. However, this film tells it from the perspective of three young amateur astronomers. We've got Herbert, Hannah and Ogilvy. And their struggle to try and stay alive, travelling across England, trying to outwit and keep safe from these alien pods that are attacking everybody. Right, what are my thoughts on War of the Worlds: The Attack? I've always been a huge fan of War of the Worlds. I love the story, I love the Jeff Wayne music, I love the original film from the 50s. I enjoyed but was slightly disappointed with the Steven Spielberg film with Tom Cruise. And generally, any time any new version of War of the Worlds comes out, whether it be a video game, whether it be a TV show, whether it be a movie, so on and so forth, I'm generally interested because I love the story. I think it's a timeless science fiction tale. We've seen many versions of the War of the Worlds. We've seen original versions where it's set in the 1800s, like the hit original novel. We've seen them modernise it many times. But generally, they all kind of do a very similar take on the story. They just put it in different settings. And with this being a low-budget film, you wouldn't expect a great deal from this film. And don't get me wrong, this film isn't anything special. But I have to say, this pleasantly surprised me, this film. It doesn't stray too far from the story that we're all used to seeing, that you've seen many times before. You're introduced to the characters. These Martians attack. They try and stay alive. The Martians attack. They meet a crazy person that seems to be in each of the stories, sort of thing. Who is more dangerous than the alien to a large degree. And then you get the end. And this is not a spoiler. If you don't know this by now, the War of the Worlds story, then I don't really know what to tell you. But in the original story, and many of the versions that we've seen, they are beaten by the bacteria that we on this planet have become so accustomed to over millenniums of years, so on and so forth. We have become accustomed to it. The Martians can't handle it, and it beats them, sort of thing. Whatever you think of that ending, that's essentially what you get in many of the original tales. Sometimes you get a different twist on it here and there. So this follows a very familiar pattern, is what I'm trying to say. And that, for me, gave this film some structure. Time and time again, I see low-budget movies and they overextend themselves. They give us plot lines the film doesn't need, overly complex plot lines that the film doesn't need. It does. It gives us characters that aren't interesting. It doesn't flesh them out particularly well. You don't care about them. So on and so forth, and by the end of the film you're just confused, frustrated and annoyed. Whereas this cleverly sticks to the structure of the War of the Worlds story. And I think what it has going for it is that structure. It's an easy film to follow, and to say this is a low-budget film, I have to say, the effects impressed me. I expected some of the worst effects that I was going to see this year on screen. And I have to say I was pleasantly surprised by the effects here. Don't get me wrong, this is not top-notch stuff, but to say this is a low-budget B-movie in a lot of ways, I I was very impressed with the effects on display for the Martians, the pods, for the explosions, for the military attacks. Everything that they give you that's effects based works well. What doesn't work well in this film is the characters. It focuses on these three young astronomers, and their acting abilities vary, I think it's fair to say. For example, they have just witnessed countless people murdered by these pods in one scene, and the next scene, one of them's joking about. It just seems tonally completely off. And this particular character just keeps doing it throughout the film, making light of situations that just aren't light. There is no lightness to this film. There is no lightness to this story. There is no comedy to be found here. And it just does not fit or work in this movie. Now, for the most part, I think performances here are of a decent standard. There is nobody outstanding, but there's nobody appalling either. Even the character that is continually trying to make fun or joke sort of thing. It might be inappropriate, but the performance isn't bad. It's just off-putting when you sort of see it. Because of budget limitations, you don't see as much of the pods or the attacks as maybe you'd like. But saying that, there are still moments where you're like, wow, that was actually half decent. And there's a moment later on in the film where you actually see the devastation in the big city, London, of the attacks. And it's only shown quite briefly, but it still has an impact and it still does a job, which quite impressed me. And I have to say, I thought this was a hugely ambitious effort when you do take into consideration the budget and the production values that they had to work with here. I think they've worked hard to give a story that is respectful to the original H.G. Wells story. I think it is definitely watchable for a low-budget movie. If you, like me, like the War of the Worlds story and you're interested in seeing new versions, check this one out. It is nothing outstanding. It feels a little bit insular because most of the film is from these three people's perspective, these three young astronomers. And they're not necessarily interesting characters or anything, but the spectacle here and there does actually make it worthwhile. I think this could have been better, but I think they've really tried to be quite ambitious here and do as much as they could with the budget and the what they had available to make the film with them. So yeah, check this one out, guys. It's certainly an average film. I think it could have been better, but of course it could have with a bit bigger budget. But I certainly was at times impressed with this one. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to check back on the channel. If you enjoyed this review, please like. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And of course, I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very soon.